Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is the celebration of the 50th anniversary of the sit-in movement. And we are fortunate to have with us to talk about the 50th anniversary of the sit-in movement two participants in the sit-in movement, Mr. RPatton and Mr. Matthew Walker. And of course, Mr. Patton and Mr. Walker, let me welcome both of you to the show this morning.
Thank you.
And to remind our audience that we've had the two of you on before, talking about, I think, the Freedom Rides at that time. And I think that we also, I might say that we've used those videos quite extensively on the World Wide Web when we dealt with the Freedom Rides. And if you're interested in that, you can simply do DRJHANEY and go and see all of that information. But first of all, let's, Mr. Patton, talk about you and Mr. Walker, because we have the entire segments to deal with the sit-in movements, and I know that both of you have some excellent information in reference to that. But let's start with you, Mr. Patton, by having you to give us some information about your background, education, and that kind of information, 2 or 3 minutes of it, and then Mr. Walker will give us the same information, and then we'll get into the sit-in movement itself.
Well, born and raised here in Nashville and attended the public schools, the good public schools, head school, the old head school, Fort Greene and Washington Junior High, and into Pearl High, and then into Tennessee State, which was Tennessee A&I at the time, and heard about the workshops. And I attended the workshops at the different churches, at Clark, even at my church, Gordon Memorial. There were workshops done there, and also down at Capitol Hill, First Baptist Capitol Hill, and got acquainted with not all of the people who were involved in the sit-ins, but a few, some of the main people. And when I first heard about the sit-ins, I immediately took part in the workshops because I figured that since I'm a Nashvilleian and I lived here, was born and raised, that I should be a part of it.
You had a responsibility.
I had a responsibility as a Nashvilleian to take part in the sit-in demonstrations.
Now, Mr. Walker, about your own involvement, your background, that kind of information.
Well, my background is, in general, not that much different from Mr. Patton. I'm also a native Nashvilleian, born and raised here. I went to school, parochial school here, and then went to Fisk. And my first year at Fisk, which was 1959, the sit-in nonviolent training workshops were being held at my church, which was Clark Memorial United Methodist Church. And Reverend Jim Nelson began those workshops at Clark Memorial in September of 1959. And I had always gone to Clark Memorial on every Sunday. So that's how I learned about the workshops. And I was curious about it because I had been to Father Ryan High School here, beginning the second year it was integrated, and that made me pretty aware of the race issue. So when I heard what they were talking about in the workshops, I felt this was something that I needed to be a part of, because I was aware of how racism played a part in the community, and I just stuck with it, kept at it, and participated in most, if not all, of the sit-ins during 1960.
Now, the sit-in movement was an extraordinary movement because it sort of upset the entire Southern system of separation of the races. Now, were you at any time fearful of your life in reference to becoming involved in this movement? Was there, because it's a courageous thing, recognizing the separation of the races and how long that had happened, and not only how you were would be involved in it, but about your parents and some of the white people that you knew and your parents knew, and et cetera. How did you make a decision? How did you come to a decision to become involved in such a movement at that particular time, understanding all of that?
Well, after I had joined, one of the things I noticed that there was a lot of Bible study, and there was a lot of singing. These were, to me, we were rooted and grounded in the Bible and in singing, and we were taught about, our teacher was Jim Lawson, and he taught us things from the Bible. He taught us things about Gandhi and how Gandhi was able to do what he did in India. And so you were, you knew about, learned about fear and how to mentally just wipe that fear out. And so with that kind of background, if you can sit at a lunch counter and look straight ahead and maybe just hum a tune or two to yourself, you don't know what's going on around
Okay,
you.
and of course we'll continue this after our first commercial break. We'll be back with the audience following this very, very short commercial break.